Okay, so a few years ago, you had a film called Person to Person at Sundance. It was a short film that really didn't have much to do with this in plot, as far as I know. Yeah, tell me about making that, then deciding to make a feature version of it.
Well, yeah. So the short film, I have it. There is a short film called Person to Person starring Benny, and in that he's also a record guy because Benny is a record guy in real life. Yeah, there was a long time. There was a long period where I was trying to figure out how I'm gonna get Benny into a movie. I wanted to make a movie with Benny, and then I figured that out making the short. And then I wanted to make another feature. I wanted to make a feature with him. But I never thought about. Is this working? I never thought about. I didn't think about the feature being. The feature's not like an official extension of the short, and it was actually called something else for quite a while. And then Person to Person just became the best title for the movie. But Benny is in both things, and so it does seem like I sort of purposely was extending the short. Did that answer the question? Was that the full question?
Yeah, I think so, more or less.
The extension of it,
It's like
or
nobody gave you a hard time. They were like, "Don't use the same title." That's
well,
bad.
no, I give myself a hard time because
Okay.
I was like, there, the short film was actually, very successful for a short film, and I didn't want the people who really love the short to be too confused.
Right.
But I just couldn't think of another title, and this seemed like the best title for this movie, so I just settled with it.
And was this developed at all with Sundance in the? No.
No, it just the short had played at Sundance, and I thought of this movie while I was at Sundance, but no, and then this premiered at Sundance.
Okay. I saw executive producers. You've got people like David Lowery and Joe Swanberg. What kind of help or advice did they give you?
Joe Swanberg's company, Forger, and another company called Bow and Arrow financed the movie.
Mm-hmm.
David Lowery has a company called Sailor Bear, so there's 3 people in that company, and 2 of those are producers on this movie, Toby and James. So there was a lot of in terms of David and Joe, a lot of moral support, and with David, notes. I've known both of them actually for a long time, and David edited my first movie,
Okay.
Bad Fever.
So did the two of you hatch this idea together, or you just kind of said, "No, I want to use Benny," and you went off and?
No, I went off and wrote it. Benny didn't know what I was up to at all, and then I just sent him the script. Yeah, but there's some odd. I mean, there's the shirt is somewhat. I mean, when you read the script, did you think Dustin just stole that shirt? I mean, not the whole shirt idea, but did you think? Did you remember any? I don't know. Like there were definitely a couple times when you would cut. Like I'm not like a. I'm a mildly depressed person, not like a majorly depressed person. But so like the stuff with him coming into the living room with the roommate, and the roommate's depressed is sort of like real stuff. And Benny would come in to the living room. He has a new shirt, and he always wanted, he's like, "Is this a nice shirt?" And so I ripped that off from real life. When you get a nice thing, you really want to know how everybody else feels about it.
Yeah, that's. I mean, it's hard to get perspective on yourself, So yeah, it's hard. We live together. You'd be on the couch or something. Yeah, it was just like that. I would ask you if it looks good, because I wasn't sure.
So George Sample's character, to some extent, reflects you in that.
No, I mean, not real. No, just
Okay,
that.
just
Just that.
that-
I have
just
never
that bit.
put naked.
Okay.
No, I
Yeah.
haven't done any of that. So.
Yeah.
Yeah. But no, I mean, all the characters have little bits and pieces of me. But
Mm-hmm. Was this originally conceived as several shorts, and you decided I see how they can fit together?
no. Although some of the characters I had floating around, and I thought they were all going to have their own features and things like that. And some of the, I mean, not really the storylines, but just I had character ideas that were floating around. And I developed them all together at the same time. I didn't develop them separately. I wanted the whole thing to. I didn't, obviously nothing. They don't connect, but I wanted it. In order to make the thing cohesive, I developed everything together, and the way people are operating, their desire to connect, is really what I was playing with, and how I made it all interweave in my head. But I didn't want everything. I wanted to make an ensemble movie where everything didn't really connect, which is something I don't see. I don't know another ensemble movie
Sure.
where things don't.
Yeah, that's not the way you expect it to go. You expect, oh, they're going to run into each other's stories. Did that disconnectedness have any effect on the way you produced the film?
Oh, you mean like the production, or I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, it was fun because, well, Abbi, who plays Claire, who's on Broad City, you know, her schedule was the hardest one to manage, because they were I think they were either writing or editing the show, and so we could only do weekends with her. So her stuff got split up. But what would happen is, you know, we shoot her on the weekend, her and Michael on the weekend, and then we would do, you know, we ended up doing like almost all of Benny's stuff, and then we would do almost all of Tavi's stuff. So it was very nice to have. It was very nice to have whole new people come in, a whole new cast come in, and we pretty much were able to pull that off in those chunks, other than Abbi and Michael being separated.
Yeah. This is the first time you've worked with anybody approaching this level of exposure, acting-wise. What was casting like?
It was actually, I mean, it was a lot easier. I mean, it was actually very, I mean, easy, mostly. I mean, the script, yeah, people just were really, just felt strongly about the script. So everybody, yeah, I mean, it happened very fast. And the turnaround was incredible in regards to somebody reading the script and then saying yes. Almost would happen with almost everybody. If they read, when they like, if somebody finally read the script, the yes would happen in a matter of like 3 days, which I think is unusual. But at some point, we were also moving very fast because we knew we had to shoot the movie before the year ended. So there was that happening too, and people so people had to say yes and things like that. But it wasn't entirely too difficult. No.
The time pressure was for what reason?
Well, it's one of those matters where, you know, you're like, the last day of shooting was December 3rd, so we were, you know, pushing into you know, we just didn't. This is not a winter movie, so we had to shoot it or push it to the next year, and we just didn't want to do that, and we would lose somebody for a play and things like that. So there was that happening. So.
But this was all through the casting agent. This were there other people in the movie like Benny that were your friends?
Yeah, I mean, no, actually, no. Well, the casting, I mean, in terms of regarding like professional casting and stuff like that, there wasn't actually. There was some, but there wasn't a lot of that. I mean, for the most part, you know, most of the cast is like my ideas. I would say like 85% of the people are like my idea, and a couple of the people I was able to get through friends. Wait, what's the question? Sorry.
Who did you get through?
Oh yes, right. I see.
Versus people you know?
Well, no, and then yeah, so Abbi Kaufman did some of the casting, and then Eleanor Hendricks did a lot of the other casting, and so yeah, there were, you know, like, yeah, I mean, like some people like Gary, who's the junk shop owner, is Steve, Benny's friend, and then there are other people in there like Benny Safdie, who's a filmmaker who's a friend of mine, and then Buddy Duress, who's in Benny's new movie Good Time. So I actually knew. I mean, I knew. I don't know what percentage, but I knew a lot of the people already.
Eleanor specializes in.
She's casting it. She's been. I mean, she started with the Safdie brothers movies, and she's been casting their movies all along. And she's still been casting stuff. I mean, she's like an assistant casted like on American Honey and things like that. So she's been working. That's what she does.
Okay.
Yeah. And Eleanor's the one who plays his girlfriend.
You've done acting as well. Did you train to be an actor?
You know, no.
Okay.
Well, I mean, one semester.
Okay. One semester in college.
Well, a lot of high school, but yeah, no, one semester in college.
Okay.
That doesn't count.
It doesn't count. Why?
That's not I mean, that's not real training. That's just experimenting.
Okay. And so, how does that inform how you approach directing?
I mean, it's huge. I mean, it's because I mean, it's great because what you realize is that actors need or desire direction. I mean, that's so helpful and awesome when it happens, and when it doesn't happen, I don't like it when I don't get anything. I want a director to help out, because I feel like I'm usually. I mean, I have no idea what's going on. I'm sort of lost, and I need help as an actor.
Did the actors collaborate at all on their dialogue? Was there improvisation? Was there
No, no. I
pretty
mean,
much-
a little tiny bit every once in a while. I mean, but not really. No.
okay. Can you give me an example of the tiny bit?
Well, the only thing I was thinking was Benny's. Well, no, it's not. It's just words moving around.
Uh-huh.
Benny's music speech, where he's telling the
Yeah.
guy off, I think was a little bit.
Thought you might have had something to do with that.
Yeah, I had to let there was a little bit of looseness. I mean, there's always a little bit of looseness if the person needs it, but for the most part, I would think, I think probably everything's word for word in here, like 95%.
Benny, you own a record store in real life.
I do.
Yes. It's called Record Shop. How long has that been going on?
This shop exists 2 years. Yeah, 2 years.
You had a different one, or were you more like your character here?
Well, I always used to. I mean, I always have done other jobs, day-to-day gigs, But when we made the short film, we slid into the other record shop that I used to work at for many years, and that's an old record shop that's been there that's existed since 1968. That's an old record shop.
Not the one we see in the film.
No, no, that's a
short film.
that's
Okay.
a that's a cool.
short-
Yeah, that was fun too.
Yeah.
That's a real place in Greenpoint, and the basement is filled with all dollar records.
Really?
So it's like a real. It's a place where people dig for records.
Yeah. That's a real crate digger place, not a, specialist record store.
Yeah, I mean, it's just
Trash.
catacombs of
Yeah,
record. Yeah, just
yeah.
a ton of records.
You're from Salt Lake City originally, yeah?
Yeah.
When did you move up here?
I first moved to New York just for a year in 2004, and then I moved away back to Salt Lake for a little bit, then LA, and then I came back. I sort of officially came back in 2007.
And you made your first feature in Salt Lake?
Yeah, I went back to Salt Lake.
Okay, you'd already
I was
lived
already living here,
Okay,
yeah.
Okay. So, but you guys didn't meet as part of a film scene or anything necessarily. You
No,
was
through
just-
through this friend Natalie.
Okay. What are your connections to the locations that you shot in?
The production. No, I mean this production was really hard, and we have so many characters and so many locations in New York's. You always get this wise advice to, I mean, if you're shooting a smaller movie, it's better just to have like 3 locations or something, or 1 location. This was really hard to pull off. I mean, almost every scene's a different location, so there's a lot going on. I don't know, like that junk shop with the records, The Thing, I really like. It's in Greenpoint. So I mean, some of them are friends of apartments of friends. But many of them I've never seen them before, so I don't have any attachment to a lot of them. Some of the stuff is mapped out, like the bike chase, and then they go on the Pulaski Bridge and stuff. I mapped that out, and I like those streets and things like that. So, I mean, it's always leaning toward my preference in places I maybe know, but because of the production, that's definitely not something that was happening a lot of the time. So.
Had you lived in Greenpoint?
I was living at Greenpoint when we shot the movie, but before that I had not lived in Greenpoint, but I knew it pretty well.
Yeah. Benny, did you have anything to do with the soundtrack? Consulting on music or anything?
I mean, I couldn't say. I mean, he would. I think that was a real challenge for Dustin. I think he didn't realize how hard it would be. Like he would come in the shop, and I would play him songs that I love. And just like that. That's the only. We just had, but I don't think he used any of those songs.
Really?
Yeah, no, it was impossible. Well, no, it was impossible. I mean, we didn't have money, and the budget was so small for the music that anything that I couldn't get anything that was known. I mean, the only thing that's half like known and not really known is the Redbone song at the end, and so I couldn't. You can't get stuff that is so expensive. So I would I'd put stuff in the movie that I knew, but then knowing I'd probably not get it, and then I wouldn't get it. So no, I ended up getting. It all had to be very rare stuff, and I definitely had to end up just going with this company called Numero Group, who releases soul
That was
music.
fantastic.
So almost everything is from them, and it
Yeah.
had to be that way because of the budget.
Yeah.
But yeah, the work that I would go and try to get stuff from Benny, but it's just like it was impossible because I couldn't. Even if it's rare, you end up realizing you can't afford it. It's pretty difficult,
Yeah.
and so the work was, and it took so long. The work was just getting myself to like all of it, and be happy with all of it and live with it. And when I finally got to the place where I love all the music, I was so happy. But it took a long time.
Everybody should be so unfortunate that they have to get music from Numero Group. Yeah, it's like a fantastic label.
good.
And I think there's a real virtue to having things that people don't go, oh yeah, I hear that in every other movie now, you know. We had a couple of questions from people in the crowd. One was about, was when we were gonna have more actors, and I was supposed to ask if they were worried about being typecast, so I should ask Benny. Do you worry about being typecast as yourself, Benny?
No, I don't worry about that. I mean, you don't want to be a caricature.
Yeah, sure.
You try to just be a human being.
Yeah.
I'm very curious. Hopefully one day I'll be able to use Benny in a different kind of way, because like when Benny's telling a story, he does he will every once in a while do an impersonation of somebody or something that he knows. You know what I mean?
I'll do the tragic or the
And
clown or whatever.
So I realize that he can. Yeah, I realize that he can do some other kinds of things. I mean, so that I'm excited to try something. I hope to do that someday.
People have asked about the challenges of what challenges digital production creates, and obviously this is shot on 16. Was that a hard thing to decide to do, or to convince other people to go along with, or?
No, I didn't have to convince anybody. I mean, our producers are just so awesome, and they've all worked on 16 before, so there was no hesitation. It only was hard because there was no more labs in New York, but Kodak's now opening a lab in Queens. But after this shoot, I was like, I didn't think I would. I thought I'd never shoot something in New York on film again, because it really was hard, and it caused a lot of problems for us to ship the film to Maryland, with Baltimore, where the nearest lab is, and then we ended up having somebody to drive there twice a week, and the turnaround was just too hard. We really needed to look at the footage faster. So that was the biggest hurdle in regards to that. I mean, there's some other stuff, later in post that's difficult and not fun. And certainly it is a little bit more, there's a lot more, just handiwork involved, but it's not that much more, and it doesn't cost that much more. So, yeah.
It didn't cost you that much more.
No, it doesn't. It really doesn't cost. I mean, it does cost more money, but I always think about it's just. I always find it harder to digital, and it takes a long time. It takes a lot of time longer to light digitally and make it look, make digital look good. That we just sort of save time on the other way around. So.
Sure.
But yeah, it really isn't that expensive.
Well, I just got a signal that our time is up.
Okay.
I want to thank you guys for coming out.
Thanks, guys. Thank you.
Thank you.